Good afternoon, everybody. It is April 23rd, 2025, and this is your Afternoon Rush. I'm Dave Neal with a special episode today where I'm joined by my friend Reality Steve Carbone. He covers all things pop culture, entertainment news. You guys know that, of course, covers The Bachelor. And today we're going to discuss a wild story in Bachelor Nation, as there's been a pretty massive accusation towards a former cast member in their relationship. We'll get into all of that. Plus, I'll be talking to Reality Steve about Bachelor Clayton Echard, as he, along with me and several others, has covered for the last several years that trial. And he's actually just interviewed several weeks ago the lawyer who tried to sue me for $120 million. So we'll hear why Steve's calling BS on him after sort of exposing him for the grift that he is. So we'll have all of that, plus a conversation about the Valley, the Vanderpump Rules spin-off show, and the upcoming Vegas Fan Appreciation Weekend by Reality Steve. So all these stories and more, it's all happening with my pal Steve right now on The Rush. Steve Carbone, how you doing?
Dave, what's happening, my man?
Dude, I'm telling you, if we could monetize our voice chats we do together, we have so much interesting conversation we have off air. I forget to even interview you on air, but it's good. This is for the public's consumption now.
Yeah. No, it's if people heard our voice memos, it's almost like we could make a podcast out of our own voice memos.
And then we'll have to have voice memos that are between the voice memos. Now, specifically, I want to talk about this drama in Bachelor Nation with Kayla. But before we get into that, your 50th is around the corner. You don't look a day over 49, my guy.
I know.
How do you feel?
I look great, huh? Yeah, I'm really excited about this because the past ones, this is the 9th time I've done it. It started in 2015, but we missed
the Fan Appreciation Weekend.
Yeah. But it happened to, I didn't do it in 2020 and 2021 because of COVID. So this is the 9th one, but the previous 8, it was a limited crowd. The most I ever had was 100. Most of the time up until last year, it was in my room at Mandalay, which was a bigger size room, but it just got too hot in there. So last year I moved it to Venetian and a restaurant. I thought it was great food, great atmosphere. But when I looked at the calendar for 2025, I realized my 50th birthday fell on a Saturday night. And my birthday obviously is always same day every year, but it's always been a week before I usually hold my party. My birthday's May 31st. My party has always been the first Friday in June. I don't know why. It worked out that way. I think because the first party I did was close to my birthday. It was like June 2nd. So I was like, I want to do something for my 40th. And that's what we ended up doing. And then I was just like, well, I'll just make it the weekend after. And so I saw that my birthday fell on 31st on a Saturday this year. I'm like, why don't I just move up my party a week and combine it, make it a theme party. It's going to be an 80s theme, and just make it more of a, in the past it was just like, hey, let's get together. We'll mingle. We'll have some raffles and give away prizes. And that's it for 3 or 4 hours, open beer and wine bar and some food. This year it's going to be more of
the food was great last year. I didn't come prepared for such good Vegas accoutrement.
Yeah, and I've never eaten. Like this year's party is at the House of Blues inside Mandalay Bay. I don't think I've ever eaten at House of Blues. I've been there.
We need like a green room where we can eat the food before, because once the party starts, there's so much talking, you can't even get a slice of pepperoni in.
I know. And I haven't picked out my menu yet. I've got to look at their menu. I've got to break it down and how many pieces I want of this and that. So I still have to do that. I haven't done that yet. I have till 2 weeks beforehand to finalize my menu. But this year, it's just going to be a little bit different because we have our own room set to ourselves. It's called the B-side room. It's a really cool room. It's got a little bit of a stage. So we are going to do a live show. Begrudgingly, I'm going to allow you to do the roast of Reality Steve, which I don't know if that's a good idea yet or not.
Well, this could be terrible for me, because if I don't do it right, people are going to be like, why is Dave's being so mean to Steve?
Well, that's the thing that I thought about. I'm like, I know people know what a roast is, but then when the jokes come out, sometimes they're like, oh, well, this is his birthday. Why are you being so mean to like? I don't know.
Well, when I did Katie Thurston's roast, there were some brutal jokes in there, and like you just got to get the audience. You got to let them know what's going on, and I think I got that covered. But this is going to be fun. Now I want to know, this is your 9th year. Will this year cost you more than the first 8 years combined?
Not combined, no. But this is easily 3 times as much as I've paid for any previous party.
So
and it's just,
are we talking a year of university? Are we talking a college loan amount? Like
not that much, but I would, you know what it'd probably be equivalent to attending a Catholic high school for a year.
that feels like $19,000.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark. Yeah,
well, you're gonna have to be praying to God that no. Look, it's a business expense. What and it's great to see your loyal audience. Some years you have the same folks turn out. I got to tell you, I tell this to Courtney Robertson all the time. When I met her 2 years ago at your party, I was flustered. I mean, she's a star.
Yeah, no, she absolutely. I remember that 2 years ago because that was. I think her first year and your first year were both the same. I think that was the first time she had ever come, and that was the first time you had ever come. And then last year, you guys both came.
And Tasha was there 2 years ago, but she came after me because our dog, we were like waiting for him to get settled in the hotel room. He was like, he was like chewing through things. And we had to so I came first, and then I was like, Tasha, you got to get over here. She showed up later, but then last year she didn't show up because the baby was only a few weeks old, and she knew I had to come. It's good business, and it's obviously good to, want to support you. But this year,
and the timing was great because the trial was 2 days after my party in Arizona. We went straight from Vegas to Arizona last year.
Unbelievable. Yeah, let's touch on that real quick. You've been interviewing Rachel Juarez from I always want to say the Hot Wing Show, the Hot Bench Show. They eat hot wings on the bench, but she's a lawyer, and you facilitated a debate between her and Gingras, the attorney for Laura Owens. Now, for those not caught up, Clayton won his appeal. Or I should say, he won his appeal. The appeal, excuse me, the appeal was by Laura Owens. She lost her appeal, so he ended up winning, and it's a big deal. And the initial trial cost $150,000 in legal fees. I think the appeal was like probably another close to 6 figures. And what was it like facilitating that debate? And did you get any pushback because you were interviewing or you had Gingras on your show?
It was easy to do because I didn't even actually Gingras kind of invited himself. Obviously I had to approve it, but I told him because I had not spoken to Gingras. I looked on my phone. I was like, when was the last time I had spoken to this guy? And it was December 12th. So I had not spoken to this guy in 4 months. And then obviously when the appeal was denied, I had some things to say about how he's handled everything and how he's handled the case and how he just keeps losing everything he does. And then he took to his YouTube show that he brought Laura on, where she sat there and just gave him a bunch of yes man answers. And I brought it up, and then I texted him out of the blue because I was like, on his YouTube show, he brings up my name 3 different times. And I said, hey man, thanks for bringing up my name. I'm glad you're still thinking about me. Just kind of being a sarcastic ass to him. And he's like, I didn't even know you brought me up. My name came up in Google Alerts. I'm like, of course it did. So then we just got to texting back and forth. And I said, David, you just got to understand, I'm going to talk about this case. I haven't talked about you in 4 months because we were just waiting for the appeals court to rule. There was nothing to talk about in this case. Nothing had happened. You had done a few videos here and there, whatever, but nothing had happened. I don't talk about you very often. So I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not going to just talk about it thinking I know anything about the legal side of this case. That's why I brought on Rachel, because she's very knowledgeable. She has read all the stuff about the case. So I bring her on every time we want to talk about this. And then he texts back, I'd love to join you this week. And I'm like, okay. I go, let me just run it by Rachel. And Rachel's like, yeah, I'll debate him. And then he said, I just need to run it by Laura. And within 2 minutes, he got back to me and said, Laura said it's a go. She's fine with it, so I'm in. So we arrange it, and the thing went for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think it was my most watched YouTube video. I've only started, I'm still a YouTube virgin, but it's been my most watched YouTube video, which I thought it would be. And, look, just like anything involving David Gingras, I guarantee, I said it the day after I recorded the interview or the day after the interview posted, I said, I guarantee this guy looked in the mirror and patted himself on the back and said, yeah, I showed them. Yet every single comment, if you look under it, by the way, I have almost 400 comments on that video, they're all destroying him and saying how great Rachel put him in his place, how he was very rude towards Rachel. He interrupted her. He was misogynistic. And yet he literally said last week, for those that don't know, he filed for reconsideration, something he wasn't even thinking of doing. But he said, after my debate with Rachel Juarez, who is completely nuts, I decided to file for reconsideration.
Yeah, so
and
do you think he obviously, when he's talking alone on his podcast, he's so hateful, yet in private messages, he plays the sweet guy. Like, what's going on there? Do you know?
I don't get it. I said that to him on the podcast. I said, during the debate, I said, David, my issue with you is when you and I have talked, and he brought it up first. He kind of said, like, Steve, you and I have never had any contention. I said, no, we haven't, except every time you take to Twitter, your blog, or your YouTube channel, you come across like an asshole. But I look at our messages and the conversation that we've had, 5 phone conversations that we've had, you've perfectly normal. I go, we don't agree on anything, but you don't come across that way. And then you get on your YouTube channel and you just spout stuff out, and you literally come across as an asshole.
But you know what? Like, that's the stuff that works, like pre-Google, like where you could just be at the bar, talk a lot of shit, and then people wouldn't vet you. And I don't think he understands the way that like YouTube works, which is if you're going to lie about something, I'm going to come with receipts and I'm going to beat you down with those receipts over and over and over again. And by the way, that's why I believe he and Laura don't want to be a part of this documentary, because... And again, it's not breaking news. We don't know if they're going to be a part of it or not. They will be invited, but they know there'll be hard evidence that goes against every one of their claims that they make. And he's kind of been holding on to like the technical side of things, but he doesn't even have that argument, right? So
yeah, his stuff is, if it was before I took over the case, I don't care about it, which is, I'm sorry, that's not the way he should have litigated this case. I don't think, just because all the stuff that the JFC found and you found was all pre-Gingras, before he took over in March of 2024. And yet he doesn't want to acknowledge any of it. He's just like, I'm focused on this. I'm focused on the appeal. Well, now you just lost the appeal. I'm focused on the reconsideration. They're probably going to lose that. He's going to take it to the Arizona Supreme Court. They're probably going to lose that. He's going to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court.
They won't even pick it up, right?
Yeah,
They're not.
And neither will the U.S.
Supreme
Supreme Court.
Maybe if the appeals court has 3 judges, maybe if it was a 2 judges thought this way and 1 thought that way, but there's just no way that's going to happen. And I mean, I wish we could bottle up some of his delusion. I always think, when I do comedy, there's no better delusion than like a first-year comedian, because they think they're funnier than they are, and they've just got this thing, and it's like you haven't been beat down yet. And I feel like that's the way with Gingras. He like runs on pure, unfiltered delusion. Because you interviewed him, obviously, and I had to deal, when I interviewed Taylor Lorenz, I got a lot of shit from a lot of people for having a conversation. And I think you and I come from the same sort of sports radio way of thinking, where it's like, have the conversation. It's not, you're not platforming some random person. It's like a pertinent conversation. And the more people talk, the more they get exposed. I wish we could have had a 2-week-long trial where Woodnick could have really, put him through the wood chipper. But, the only real justice we get now is to hear him talk and hear it all exposed.
Yeah. And I think there were a couple people before the interview posted that were like, why are you giving this guy a platform? But after it aired, I was just like, look, it accomplished exactly what I wanted it to accomplish. Me just interviewing Gingras by myself wouldn't have gone well, because anytime he brought up something legal, I wouldn't have been able to fight it. Rachel was literally the thing. If you watch the video, it's amazing, because I don't know why Gingras had this mindset, but I don't think Gingras thought that Rachel was going to come prepared, because Rachel had his cases printed out. She had stuff highlighted. She had Rule 26 written down. She was showing him. She's like, David, show me where your case that you state in this appeal, show me where it says this. And then he would just get flustered and be like, can we just move on? I guess we're just going to agree to disagree, Rachel. He said that so many times, and everybody else took that as he realizes he lost the argument, so he wants to move on to a different topic.
Yeah, and the way he's been with women too, like Deandra and Isabel, both at Woodnick. I mean, he was coming at their throats. Rachel, obviously, Liz Neptune and Lauren, all Megan Fox, of course. And it's like, boy, it's almost like. And I'm not going to say that it's misogyny. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like he thinks he can just outsmart people, and then it's just like, what world is this? But anyhow, it's just It's silly, but it's interesting because this, of course, all came about because Bachelor Clayton had to deal with Laura Owens, not accepting the fact that she got rejected by him. We have another Bachelor story, at least Bachelor adjacent, involving Kayla. Now, what season was Kayla on? Was she on Nick's season? I can't even remember.
No, she was Ben Higgins' season. She finished third on Ben Higgins' season.
So she was finished third on Ben Higgins' season. She was actually lined up to be the Bachelorette to the point where they were filming her promos. They pulled it from her. And she's had some controversies with her social media because she kind of comes from sort of the golden age of Bachelor where you got a big following and people hold you responsible. But she marries this guy. Now, fill me in. This guy gets exposed. We don't know if none of it's been confirmed, but Us Weekly and other magazines have covered it. He was exposed online that he was in a, I guess, online cheating story. How does this go down?
Yeah. From everything that I've gathered, it all came about on Reddit. People sent me the link and I read through it. Somebody went to Reddit and said, I've been having an online emotional affair with Nick, which is Kayla's husband. And they provided a bunch of receipts, which were screenshots of text messages going back and forth. At no point in these text messages does this guy identify himself as Nick, Kayla's husband, nor does he say the name Kayla in it. But when you read all the texts and you read their context and they say who they are, and they're saying this is Kayla's husband, when you read the back and forth, it certainly seems like it's him. But is there confirmation that it is him? No. There is a video that is put out up there, but again, I don't know. It's just a 3-second video of him like smiling at the camera. I don't know if this is something that this person got off somewhere else. I don't know enough about that. All I'm saying is this person provided literally 25 links to receipts of me in contact with Nick, Kayla's husband.
So this person, this is a trans woman that
22-year-old trans woman that said they met on Grindr.
And and it's really, the fact that she's trans is irrelevant other than he's in a heterosexual relationship with Kayla. So if this is true, it's kind of like right in that, is it worth covering or not? Because Nick wasn't on the show, but Kayla was, and it gets into that gray area where you have to go. You just got to be careful, right? Where you're like, does this line up? Now, a lot of people online seem to think that enough of this is true. Although Kayla did, I guess, reject it publicly. What do you think she believes it?
That's the $1 million question. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's two things at play here. Number one, is it true? And then number two, if it is true, did this person have the right to out this publicly? Could they have just gone to Kayla and said, look, your husband's cheating on you, let me know, or I'm letting you know. That's what they claim they did. They actually showed the Instagram DM that they sent Kayla, which had all the links to it that they included in the Reddit post. So they did try to tell Kayla. But if Kayla wants to handle this privately and doesn't want to acknowledge you and doesn't want to talk to you, does it make it right then to go public and say, well, Kayla doesn't want, because that's been the reason. People are like, why did you come public with this? This is Kayla and her husband's ordeal to deal with. You did the right thing by going to Kayla, but why did you continue going public?
You're right. The public part literally makes no sense. If you were worried about Kayla, you would tell her and probably not go public because then she could work that out. If we've learned anything from this, don't cheat with somebody who's not old enough to rent a car. I think that's you. If you're, no, I'm kidding, but she's not even old enough to rent it. You got to be, I think, 25, right, to rent a car. But the point is that like messy. This younger generation is messy with their exposing. But what's interesting is the exposing was done on Reddit, so it wasn't even like the person was on TikTok or was getting any clout from it, right? Like they didn't make any content based on it.
We don't even know their name and we haven't seen their face. That's the other thing, that it's like, okay, but if you come forward with allegations in 2025, you kind of got to need to put your name behind it or show us your face. This person did nothing, but they provided enough receipts where you're like, yeah, like, to me, honestly, I have no idea if it's true or not. I never covered the story. I never talked about it. I haven't even talked about it since E! Online and Us Weekly came out with stories for it and said Kayla Quinn denies husband cheating rumors, which was surprising to me that outlets like that, even though maybe I shouldn't be surprised because they're looking for salacious clickbait headlines. I mean, they ran with a story that they didn't vet. They didn't ask. They didn't try and find this woman.
You know what the problem is? They didn't have a story until Kayla responded.
Yeah.
And that's
right.
that actually, a broken clock is right twice a day. And Nick Viall refuses to respond to stuff like this because it gives people a story.
Yeah.
And I think it's tough because on one end, if somebody was starting some stuff with my wife online, I would absolutely hire whoever I needed to find out who that person was and make sure that they publicly stood by what they were saying. Because I just have a problem, and we've talked about this before. I have a problem with people anonymously trying to step into the pit. And not the Game of Roses pit, but like the pit, the pig pen, and then not deal with the consequences of their actions. And again, I'm not saying this Reddit person is that, because if they want to out somebody, by all means go out somebody. But like, yeah, you either need to put your name to something for an accusation, or if you're going to go anonymous, have the proof. And it looks like they have the proof.
Yeah. So, but they didn't go public. So it is this weird dynamic where it's not like they just showed us one text, because that could have been made. They could have just texted their friend and said, "Hey, text me this pretending you're Kayla's husband." But clearly the reason why, because we were like, well, why did you go public? The reason why is based on, if this is true, this person is just a scorned person, because the text message content between these two is this guy was planning on meeting up with this woman and was giving her false hope that maybe there was a hookup in the future. Maybe he was going to leave his wife for her. That's why she went public. Now, we can sit here and debate, is that a good enough reason for you then to go public because you feel scorned? Because they contacted Kayla. They told Kayla about it. They said Kayla didn't respond to them, so that's why they went public. Well, I think a lot of people have an issue with that, because why not just leave it at that? If Kayla doesn't want to address it publicly, or doesn't want to respond to you and say, leave me alone, or this isn't true, or you're making this up, that's her prerogative. Why then go to Reddit? So, and we still don't know her name. We still don't know her face. It's a very slippery slope. But I understand why they went public. I just don't agree with it, because it doesn't do anything, because you still haven't put your name behind it.
It's just messy. It's just messy at the end.
They're pissed off. They're scorned. They're basically a scorned act.
Emotional cheating is cheating, but it's all at a different level. Like, is it first degree, whereas physical intimacy second, having a baby's third? I don't know. It really depends on the boundaries everyone sets. But
Dave, put it this way. If this is true and you're Kayla, there's no way she's, I don't care what, and maybe, I guess maybe if you're in an open marriage, this doesn't matter, but I have no idea about Kayla's marriage situation. But if this is all true and you're Kayla, I think you would be pissed off at your husband for doing this.
By the way,
this violates your marriage.
Are you following the Valley, Jax? Are you following that story?
Oh, yeah.
So did you watch the first episode of the new season?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's talk about that real quick, because last summer at your reality party, Jax was doing lines of cocaine at some other casino. Yeah. And again, and now that he's admitted to being a cokehead and he's going to treatment, I think it's pretty interesting. What I saw this week was that he was doing a TikTok, and his PR person, I think her name's Lori, she represents a lot of the Bachelor people, she was telling him to get off the stream. So there was this thought of, well, maybe he was using again. And I don't want to speculate on someone's sobriety, but it's really tough to watch the new episode of The Valley and see Jax and Brittany both discuss his flipping a table over in a rage because she was still talking to another guy, even though they were still, on a break. What are your thoughts about all of that?
Well, I mean, if you listen to all of them on podcasts and the clips that I've seen promoting season 2, even Jax says it. Jax knows that this season is going to look bad for him, because this was all filmed last summer. So all of these episodes he was still using. He didn't get sober until like 2 months ago. This was all filmed back in July. So every episode, there's like a running meme going on Instagram right now and social media, just saying, pick out the point in the episode where Jax had just done a line of coke. Like people are just like, that's the game they're playing this season, because we know he was using this whole season. So he's clearly not going to look good at all this season on the Valley. And, it didn't take more than 3 minutes into the first episode where he found out he flipped a table and it hit his wife in the knee. And yeah, he's going to look bad all season
and he
long.
goes, hey, but at least the kid was in the other room. I'm like, you think, is the kid have his, is the kid listening to Reality Steve on his, it's like, what are you talking about? And again, I'm laughing because we can't cry, but it's really sad that, people, these adults can't figure out and regulate their emotions because, one thing Jack said, which was interesting, he was like, yeah, but, while this all happened, find me a guy that wouldn't act this way. And I'm like, you can't be working on your marriage and then, and I understand, like, they have to figure out where they were on the timeline, you know, but like, if it ain't working out, it ain't working out. No flipping a table is going to bring that back. So I tell you what, I think it's a pretty interesting show. Tasha can't watch it. She wants to watch like the just, simple, like, Meghan Markle making sourdough bread. Like this is, she doesn't need the stress. Whereas I feed off of it. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I think Jax is, the other thing that like literally came out a week or two before the season started, in the papers, that Jax and Brittany both came out and said that their son Max is now autistic. So now we come to find out that, and Brittany has said on numerous podcasts that he yells at me all the time in front of our son, which is just like, again, I don't think, and this is, I guess, even post rehab, that his behavior still has not changed and he still blows up on her, which, again, I don't have a child. You do. He's 1 year old. I'm guessing any sort of argument that you may or may have with your wife, you're not going to do it in front of your young child because they're going to see that and it's going to get ingrained into their head. Well, that's not a good environment to be in.
Like the cortisol, the stress, a baby can't comprehend that. There's been times where like Tosh and I will laugh out loud and he'll start crying because he's like, this is a new emotion. And it's really sad. And it's just, it's one thing to watch these adults be dumb, but like when these kids are involved, you're like, good golly, hopefully they're able to, the only positive that could come out of it is that he gets to watch it back and maybe have a come to Jesus moment, but who knows? Last thing I wanted to ask on air is, now that we found out Nick Viall's getting $30 million to podcast, are you getting those Nick Viall bucks? What's your thought on this?
Oh God. You know how I feel about Nick. It's good for the podcast industry that there's this much money going around. I look at it as a positive that there are advertisers out there willing to pay money to people who put out content. I'm obviously not a fan of him. I don't think he does the homework for a lot of his interviews. I think he puts it off on his team. I don't think he comes across as very knowledgeable on some of his podcasts. Whereas, I try, me and you and others, we try and bust our ass and try and be prepared for every interview that we do. And if you want to say it comes across as jealousy or sour grapes, look, great that you're making the money, dude. But for me personally, he's not my cup of tea. But I do know he has a following. It's all based on your listenership. So I can sit here and question why people listen to him in the beginning to start with, but I'm just going to bang my head against the wall doing that because I know he's got a giant listenership. I just know what I've personally dealt with the guy and the clips that I have seen and some of the interviews that he has done and some of the reckless things that he has said and hasn't held himself accountable for it. I just have no place for this guy. And, I wish maybe that money would be dispersed to other people. But
you're right that it's good for the industry. The second I saw that deal, I was like, I got to reach out to Libsyn. We got to get some of them Nick dollars. But yeah, it's like people can decide what to do with their time by all means. I honestly don't think he could sell. This is what's interesting. I don't think he could sell the amount of tickets you sell to, or not that you sell them, but I don't think he could generate the same fan appreciation that you do, which is interesting because you can have that big of an audience, but how loyal are they? How loyal, do you have people that are going to go to bat for you and show up to court with you and do all these things that be a part? And again, maybe he does, good for him, but I've always respected your show and the way you run your business. I can't wait to celebrate it. The 50th birthday, another year, another notch on the belt for you there. Yeah. And the belt that's ever tightening, I guess, or I should say loosening is the other word.
Well, if I loosen the belt, does that means I'm getting bigger?
In this case, you're adding buttons to it. Are you?
Yeah, so I'm tightening. So I'd be tightening it. Yeah.
So how's that going for you?
Health wise, I've been great. I did my blood work beginning of the year, January, every 3 months. They said now, because my blood work came back and everything was normal back in January of 2025, they said they really only need to see me every 6 or 9 months now. So that's good. I haven't had any health issues at all. And it's not like I've been a picture of health. I have started going back to the gym a lot more religiously. But eating wise, I'll still have my, you think I'm giving up Olive Garden? No way. It's not happening. So I still have it on occasion. And it's just what got me into the bad place was just an overabundance of sugary foods and fried foods. That was it. That put me over the top. That put me almost in what they call diabetic ketoacidosis. I literally almost, I don't want to say flatlined, but I literally almost had to go into ICU because my blood sugar level was 4 times the normal amount. And it was while I didn't realize it at the time, once I was diagnosed with that, I said, yeah, it makes sense now because I've eaten like crap for the last 5 months and I'm getting older. My metabolism is slower. Made sense. But yeah, I've eaten a lot better since then.
What a crock of shit that is, right? That you just want to enjoy a little flavor of Italy. And God's like, not going to happen. No, I get it. Yeah. And that's, for me, it's like having a baby. It's been like, geez, I'm kind of like an old dad. So I'm like, I need to look okay in 25 years, And it's like, I can't just be eating the things I feed my baby. That's, but I'm going to be opening up the cheat guide for whatever they're serving at your party, because I'm ready for it.
Has Augie started eating non-baby food? Like, will he eat scraps of anything from you guys? Oh yeah, scraps. He's not a dog.
Yeah, just rip off a piece and throw it at him. Take that. Sit, Augie. No, yeah, he can eat. He's had over 140 types of foods. He's had no allergies, knock on wood. And he can eat, we just have to cut it up into certain sizes. And we actually have a program that's like Factor. It's called Nurture something.
Yeah, Factor.
But we have it's just baby food that comes in. So if we decide to not eat great in a meal, we'll just cook him this up. And it's like really good stuff. But yeah, no scraps for Augie here.
What is he like that's like human food?
He loves red meat.
Really?
He loves anything beef. He had a curry chicken last night from this faux place. I mean, the kid's he's got a palate. He really does.
Is he eating mac and cheese yet?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like Kraft, or what do you got to do for
No, he actually, from the company we had, it was actually like a butternut squash mac and cheese. So they try to make it healthy. He has not had any sugar. That's not like in fruits or anything. For his first birthday, he's not going to have a cake that's made out of cake material. We're going to hold on. We're going to like sort of protect, like, as long as he doesn't need to know how good sugar is, I think we can keep that from him, because like, why mess his brain up with that stuff? Because God knows I am. I'll do anything for a lick of sugar. I'll take sugar scraps. Anyhow,
Augie scraps.
Yeah, let's podcast during your week in Vegas. But if anyone wants to find you, Reality Steve, anything specific you're promoting?
No, although I am going to have this Thursday's weekly podcast is going to be with Rachel Juarez. We are going to go over David Gingriss's filing for reconsideration, something that when he first lost the appeal, he basically even wrote in his blog and said, the odds of us winning this are basically slim and none. Yet after the interview with Rachel, he felt like, I've got a case here. And so she is going to go over his reconsideration filing that he's probably going to lose. And I did ask listeners to send in questions for Rachel on the legal side of, well, what do you think about this? And what about this that he's doing? And what about this about the case and Clayton and all this stuff? So going to take questions from listeners, and that's going to air on Thursday. That's episode 440 on my Reality Steve podcast, which will also be up on my YouTube channel Thursday morning.
Amazing. We look forward to hearing it. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you soon.
You got it, man.